during the day, you'll see the full aerobatic routine where he really pushes it even further. Yeah, this is so weird to listen to. The piston engine is getting used. They called it the Detroiter because hours and hours. The first sector actually took 27 hours and 27 minutes.
I think that's only to be beaten by the second sector. So when Smithy, Charles Ulm, Harry Lyon and James Warner flew from Hawaii to Fiji, it actually took them 34.5 hours.
And that was the first time an aircraft had ever landed in Fiji. There are reports of the well-heeled in Suva standing on the balcony of the hotel as he sailed past and landed in a local oval.
Must have been quite a sight. Now Smithy, there was no autopilot in the Southern Cross, very rudimentary instruments. This was 1928, so nearly 100 years ago when the Pacific crossing was made. He had to hand fly the whole way, and this aircraft isn't exactly light on the controls.
There are no toilets. He did not get out of his seat, neither did Ulm. Messages were passed through a little hole behind his head, tap him on the head, and he could read where they were from the navigation.
So any spare space in the aircraft, it was basically fuel and emergency equipment.
One of the important things that they had quite a number of radios on board, and they were able to go aircraft to shore for a while, and then they were picking up ships on the crossing. And one of the other firsts in that particular crossing was the longest ever radio message ever received at the time. And that was over 12,000 miles. It was picked up in Bloemfontein in South Africa.
Yeah, so for the people interested in radios, it was actually a high-frequency radio signal that they bounce off the ionosphere. That's the top part of the atmosphere. Then they bounce that signal off the ground, off the ionosphere, goes all the way around the world. So it's quite an amazing bit of technology that they were displaying at the time.
When they landed up in Brisbane, 25,000 people came out to visit them. And that particular leg, from Fiji to
there's all these lines, fiddles, triangles, things that we can read and exactly. You see this one with the plane there, end over end. Planes aren't supposed to do that, but this one can. There's still these today. And no, yeah, so we're just sitting for memory. Everyone flies off there about
And Archer did not hesitate. He just pushed the nose forward. The machine guns in this thing are only rifle caliber. So down he went, one firing pass, and he managed to shoot the aircraft down. wasn't a Zero, it was a far more manoeuvrable aircraft, that KI-43. The aircraft itself returned to base. The observer jumped out on the side while he was taxiing in, and everybody thought Archer had been wounded. But when they stopped, they sent a signal back, and I mentioned this yesterday. It said, Archer has shot down 1 Zeke, repeat 1 Zeke, send 6 bottles of beer. The aircraft itself still exists, and it's in the Australian War Memorial. So if you want to see that aircraft, it actually went through all of the rigours of training after World War II, because these aircraft were also used as advanced trainers as part of Australia's contribution to the Empire Air Training Scheme during World War II. An aircraft looks very similar to this, used by the Kiwis and the other Commonwealth forces, called the Harvard. It's basically this aircraft and the Harvard have the same father, North American aviation design. But 131,000 pilots produced by the Empire Air Training. Massive worldwide effort. Still Britain to come into the country. There's quite a lot of forethought put into the Empire Air Training. So even before they need the pilots, they need around the world. A lot of pilots in the aircraft because of the fighter thing. But the Dakota is really an everything aircraft. Transport. It did so many different things throughout its service. You used to even use it in Vietnam as a gunship, so it would fly around in circles, have a whole bunch of weapons to the side of the aircraft, much like the AQ-130K these days. These machines owned, flown and maintained by HARS, the Historical Aircraft Restoration Society, who's got this magnificent museum down here at Shellharbour Airport. Now, the DC-3, as Dan said, was used for everything, and it's pretty safe to say that there is no country on the planet that hasn't been served by a DC-3. They were called the Dakota, the Goonie Bird, then you got the PR people in that call it the Sky Trooper or the Sky Train, but generally the DAC or the Goonie Bird. Yeah, it was amazing. Over 11,000 were built in total, and actually 2,500 were built by the Soviets and the Japanese. So everyone built it. It was just such a great design, such a useful design. One of its finest hours would have been on D-Day, where over the first 2 days, Dakotas dropped over 50,000 paratroopers into occupied France. And not only that, they were dragging gliders over as well. They were also used in the famous Bridge Too Far mission at Arnhem. And these incredibly versatile skis, normal undercarriage, they fly anywhere. These have been used in the Arctic and the Antarctic as well. And as you can see, still soldiering on today. One of the other things that these aircraft were used, they were a transport, but they were also used for basically he's in the middle of all of those things. So they cover the canopy so they don't have the top. Why did I do in 1945, but the original letter of intent signed by the US Navy was actually signed in 1943. So the forward planning for this was absolutely incredible. Yeah, it was designed, built too late for World War II to be serviced there, but it was designed before the Cold War, and it became a Cold War warrior. So in the 1950s, a lot of tension between the East and the West in the United States and Russia, and this aircraft was sort of maritime patrol all over the world ocean for those respective Russian submarines. The first unit actually to receive this has a whole lot of alphabet soup. Weekly ML2, or Patrol Squadron Medium Land Base 2, was the first to receive the B2B1 as it was called. So what they would do, they would fly all over the ocean. They have a bit of an idea where the submarines are. The submarines are made out of metal, so as they fly over the submarine, the MAD detector will pick up on those Russian submarines. They would turn around and spot them and track them. Because the early ones, they actually had, a la World War II, they had a nose turret, they had a top turret, and a rear turret to protect the aircraft. But obviously with the change of requirements, the change of times, the change of opposing machinery, no need to fly them. Yeah, that's exactly right. Showing it time to time, so navigation back in the day was quite difficult. They didn't have Google Maps, there was no GPS, so they had to use
one of the highest performing aerobatic biplanes in the world today. As Paul does the point rolls on the vertical, up at the top of this vertical, he's going to do one of the world's smallest inside lifts, turning the wolf pits into a helicopter, and it's about this time we'll see if we can go live to Paul in the cockpit.
Been a bit of weight down the end there for a while, but we're finally into it, so hopefully you all coming through a little drive in the wolf pit. So lovely day here at Shellharbour, just having a flat little hover there with a 360 turn. We'll get some speed up now, and we'll head down for the tumbling tower. Here we go. Back up. So we're going to roll around to the left, and right runner, and smoke going everywhere, and we're going to flip over here. Right, we'll get it back under control, get as much speed as we can, and we're going to pull up the torque dial. Up we go, it's indeed there. We're going to roll around, we're going to make 1,800 feet, and going to come backwards. I'll turn the smoke off so you can see me. So up, down, up. Right, left, right. Everything's reversed. Going backwards with foil, driving backwards, and that was a good one. Back to you, mate.
Thank you, Paul. What do we think of Paul's flying so far, ladies and gentlemen? You'll hear Paul screaming out loud under the G-force, and that's not because it hurts at all. It's because he's trying to tighten the muscles in his neck, and the best way to do that is by screaming out loud to keep the blood in his head. If the blood rushes away from his head, he'll pass out, start to lose his vision, and yeah, not a good condition to be in. Hence why he tightens the muscles. Now the Wolfpits Pro is powered by that
people, more stuff, and it can airdrop them out the back, so you don't even have to land. Today we're going to see a short field landing. This aircraft has 4 engines. They're Rolls-Royce AE 2100D3 engines, about 4,500 pounds of thrust each. The propellers, it's actually a 6-bladed composite propeller. That gives it really good slow and low performance. It takes a little bit of the top end power when you're up high, but this aircraft is designed to fly low. You can get in, it's really hard to head up this plane and not have to look down at the instruments. It's really handy when you're trying to land on very short strips and you only have 100 metres or so to touch the aircraft down. And if you don't touch it down by then, you have to go around. Now in Papua New Guinea, some of those strips are only one-way strips, so that means you're committed to landing before you've even landed, so you can't go around it. And just listen to those props go into reverse thrust as he touches down.
They're only like about 3 foot long, but boy, the leg develops in power. It's the same engine that is in the VHS.
Pretty amazing. So the USAF actually use these for training vice combat. We use the combat in the South Vietnamese Air Force.
It's developed from the T-37 trainer, the Tweet, which at that time was the noisiest aircraft in the US Air Force inventory, surpassed by now by the F-35. But believe it or not, this aircraft was developed as a counterinsurgency aircraft. In those days, counterinsurgency was little known by the public, but of course we all know now what an insurgent is.
Yeah, so what made this aircraft good at counterinsurgency? We had a tandem cockpit, so the pilots could work together, sitting side by side, so you don't necessarily just need to talk.
By Lockheed, that twin-engine, twin-boom aircraft that was famous during the Second World War and designed by Kelly Johnson, who now runs the Skunk Works, or Lockheed have this Skunk Works, which is the all-secret division.
Yeah, the Skunk Works is responsible for a number of aircraft, probably the most famous being the SR-71, which was Mach 3 capable and a little bit faster than 20, which is out to the right. Just coming down under the escarpment, but these engines, they were no slouches.
They had a lot of orders for these because they were so fast. Now this one is actually the Lockheed 1049. It is a what they call the Super Connie, and it has a cruise speed of about 480 kilometres an hour, which for the day was quite good. Maximum speed of about 7 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, these engines, they're right duplex cyclones, which is quite complex. 3,200 horsepower.
The turbo compounds, the exhaust driving turbos, which then put their power back into the engine itself. Absolutely beautiful. I had about 84 orders by Pan Am and TWA and an unidentified customer that they thought could have been Japanese prior to the outbreak of World War II. But when America got into World War II, there was no authorization for the manufacture of commercial aircraft anymore. So they went into the military. So they could see where he was and if need be, look up. pilot that will ever be. 322 firm kills, and all of those were done provide a camera, provide some other observer. None of the aircraft that were made by him was shot up on the ground. That becomes another part of what he observed. He was much more suitable for operations rather than the 109 due to the wider undercarriage and the radial engine being able to absorb more bang damage.